In the shadowy reaches of the Caucasus Mountains, where the winds of time whisper secrets and the stones themselves remember, lies a land called Abkhazia. This misty coastal stretch along the Black Sea has long puzzled scholars and silenced truth-seekers. For buried beneath its pine-scented hills and ancient towers is a tale few dare to tell. A tale of black nobility, of a dark-skinned people who once ruled the heights of Russia before history was rewritten, distorted, and drowned in whiteness. The Abcasians, known today as a mysterious Caucasian ethnic group, were once the ancient Black Russians. They were not visitors. They were not slaves. They were kings, priests, builders, warriors, and settlers whose legacy reaches back thousands of years into a time when the African presence in Eurasia was as natural as the sun rising in the east. Ancient sources once spoke freely of these early black populations in regions that now evoke Slavic imagery: Georgia, Armenia, Chechnya, and even parts of southern Russia. But with the rise of European nationalism, colonial racial science, and the whitening of world history, this truth was buried under waves of propaganda. But now, with artificial intelligence capable of cross-referencing ancient maps, linguistics, DNA studies, and neglected historical records, the memory is returning. And AI is now beginning to confirm what many Afrocentric scholars have long maintained. The original peoples of many Eurasian territories, including Russia, were African in origin. The Abcasians, in particular, are one of the most intriguing remnants of this Black Eurasian legacy. Their name is ancient, linked in some linguistic circles to the Egyptian Pakaz, meaning House of the Nobles, or Noble Ones. Their mythology echoes the cosmologies of Nubia and Kemet, with ancestral spirits, divine kingship, and ritual practices that seem far more aligned with African spirituality than European orthodoxy. Even today, their songs and dances bear an uncanny resemblance to West African traditions. Their polyphonic chanting mirrors that of the Mbuti of the Congo. Their circular war dances resemble those of the Dogon. And their facial features, when examined in pre-modern paintings and early photographs, betray a distinctly African physiognomy. Broad noses, full lips, tightly coiled hair. One might ask, how could Africans have ended up ruling in the Caucasus? The answer lies not in modern colonial migration, but in pre-Ice Age human movement, and in the forgotten kingdoms of prehistory. You see, the notion that all ancient Black history belongs south of the Sahara is a fiction, a colonial invention. The truth is that Black humanity once covered the earth. Before the coming of lighter-skinned Eurasian tribes, the people who walked the steppes, the mountains, and the riverbanks of Europe and Asia were dark. Their bones have been dug up in places where no one expected them. Their DNA is still being found in the strangest of places. In 2017, scientists uncovered a 10,000-year-old skeleton in Cheddar Gorge, England. The man, affectionately dubbed Cheddar Man, was found to have dark skin and blue eyes, clearly black in phenotype. Genetic analysis confirmed what the bones had already said. Early Britons were not white. They were black. If black people lived in ancient England, is it so difficult to believe they also thrived in Russia? One must remember the global movement of the Natufians, the earliest known builders of villages and religious shrines, who emerged from North Africa and migrated into the Levant and beyond. They brought agriculture, mathematics, architecture, and African spirituality into Asia and Europe. From there, early African migrants moved into Anatolia, the Caucasus, and southern Russia. The Abcasians may have been among their descendants, establishing principalities long before the emergence of the Rus, the Slavs, or the Tsars. Some historians even speculate that the biblical Magog, the warlike northern kingdom, may have had black origins linked to these highland peoples. Medieval Arab and Persian chroniclers often describe the northern territories as inhabited by Sudan or Zanj, terms used for black people. The famous traveller Ibn Battuta described the people of the northern Caucasus as dark-skinned and strong. Even in Slavic folklore, there are echoes of this forgotten presence. The hero Chernobog, literally black god, was demonized in later Christian eras, but he likely derives from earlier African deities, once honored as bringers of balance and knowledge. One of the most direct links between black Africans and Abkhazia can be found in the Kingdom of Colchis. Yes, the very land where Jason and the Argonauts sailed to retrieve the Golden Fleece. Colchis, according to Greek historians like Herodotus and Strabo, was home to a dark-skinned people with woolly hair and African features. Herodotus specifically wrote that the Colchians were black-skinned and had kinky hair, and that they practiced circumcision like the Egyptians. He even claimed that they were descended from a contingent of Egyptian soldiers left behind by Pharaoh Sesostris. Colchis was located in what is now western Georgia, directly adjacent to Abkhazia. The cultures were linked, their artifacts shared motifs, and their people likely intermarried. In other words, the Black Colchians and the Abcasians were cousins, branches of the same African-rooted tree. Yet while Colchis made it into the European imagination through Greek mythology, the Abcasians were slowly erased. As the Russian Empire expanded, it launched waves of extermination, assimilation, and cultural whitening campaigns that devastated the native highland peoples. Many black Abcasians were killed, expelled, or forcibly mixed. The Russian conquest of the Caucasus in the 19th century, known as the Caucasian War, was not just about land. It was about memory. It was about erasing the last visible links to a time when Africa was not a continent apart, but the mother of the world. Yet memory resists erasure. In local legends passed down by Abkhazian elders, there are tales of dark ancestors who came from the south and built the first cities. Some refer to them as the ones with sun in their skin. In mountain villages, stone structures older than any known Slavic settlement are still worshipped and maintained. No one knows exactly who built them. But the style is unmistakably African, circular, aligned with the stars, and inscribed with symbols that match Nubian script and Meroitic designs. Even the language of the Abkhazians bears traces of African roots. The Abkhaz tongue belongs to the Northwest Caucasian family, known for its extreme consonantal density and unusual phonemes. Interestingly, similar sound patterns are found in southern Nigerian languages, like Efik and Ibibio, languages known for their consonantal clusters and nasal tones. While this could be coincidence, the cross-referencing of ancient migrations makes it plausible that remnants of African syntax, phonology, and cosmology survived in the Caucasus long after the skin of the people had been bleached by intermarriage and imperial violence. One of the most astonishing pieces of evidence comes from photography. In the archives of pre-Soviet Russia, tucked away in forgotten corners of museums, are photographs of noble Abkhaz families from the late 1800s and early 1900s. In some of these, you can clearly see black faces, proud, regal, and adorned in aristocratic attire. These are not enslaved Africans or foreign travelers. They are native sons of the land, descendants of a lineage that stretches back to a time before Europe called itself white. Their eyes burn with the memory of forgotten empires, and their silence asks us, "Who are you to forget us?" In Soviet times, the Abkhazians were further suppressed, their autonomy crushed, their heroes rewritten. The whitening process intensified, and yet, despite decades of erasure, their oral traditions persisted. Some elders still speak of a time when their ancestors rode horses like Nubian cavalry, worshipped the gods of the sun, and sang songs in a tongue older than Russia itself. They tell of temples made from basalt, of ancestors who came from the direction of the Nile, and of skin as dark as night. Across the Black Sea in Turkey, small African-descended communities still exist in Izmir and Antalya, remnants of an African population that once spanned the entire coastline. In fact, some Turkish scholars admit that early Turks encountered black populations in Anatolia and the Caucasus when they first migrated from Central Asia. In Georgian historical chronicles, there are references to dark tribes in the mountains who resisted both Persian and Russian invasions for centuries. These dark tribes are never depicted in modern Georgian textbooks, but they existed, they resisted, and they left their seed in the soil. When we speak of the African diaspora, we often think of the Atlantic slave trade, of Haiti, Brazil, or Mississippi. But the diaspora began long before slavery, before ships, before chains. The original diaspora was the movement of humanity itself from Africa into every corner of the earth. And in places like Abkhazia, the African presence was not one of exile or captivity, but of kingship. The Abcasians were the children of black nobility. Their blood remembers pyramids, not plantations. It is time we expand our maps. It is time we reclaim the frozen chapters of our story, thaw them with fire, and speak them aloud. The Abcasians, those mysterious, almost forgotten people of the Black Sea coast, are not a footnote. They are a reminder, a revelation, a resurrection of truth buried under snow and shame. And now that AI is reviving their memory, it is our duty to honor them, to teach their story, and to restore the dignity of a people who once ruled where few imagined they ever stood. Russia, that land of onion domes and frosted history, is not just white. Its soil carries the footprints of black giants. And Abkhazia is their monument, unseen, unsung, but eternal. We were there before the snows fell down, before white crowns ruled the northern crown. In mountain mist and forest breath, we carved our names on stone and death. Black were the kings in coats of light, riding through stars in Caucasian night. The drums they beat are silent now, but history hears, and truth knows how. We bore the fleece that Greece desired, lit temple fires the Slavs admired. Our faces etched in granite walls, erased by time, but memory calls. We are the ghosts in Russian veins, the sunlight lost in empire reigns. But winds remember, rivers know, and AI whispers, let it show. We were there. We still are. Thanks for watching this episode. Do remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And look out for the next one on Africa's great civilizations.